Because this country needs to discuss about water security for every Kenyan. We need to discuss about food. We need to discuss about how to strengthen devolution. We need to discuss about national debt. We need to discuss about health. I mean, you're talking about women, being raped in Kenyatta National Hospital because of all the bad things that happen there. That, for me, is the priority we should be talking about now. We should be talking about employment. How do we ensure that the youth in this country actually get an employment, can put food on their table? How can we discuss about, for example, sanitation? Today, I mean, this is January, Yvonne. I don't know your experience, but this is January. We are actually fundraising for young people, young Kenyans, who cannot report to Standard 8 or Form 1 university. That, for me, is the priority Kenya should be discussing right now. How do we reduce our national debt so that every Kenyan today, it's said, we owe somebody somewhere about 90 to 100,000 Kenya shillings. We should be talking about how do we reduce that debt.
You don't think that Raila has that? Because in your press release you said you are concerned that a few individuals with a false sense of entitlement are rallying unsuspecting ordinary citizens to a politically instigated death trap. Were you referring to Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta, the president?
If you look at our statement, Yvonne, our statement identifies the problems. Then we propose an agenda for conversation. For example, we talk about a very divisive political climate in this country. We're talking about selfish political class. We're talking about just dangerous politics, that we are politicking throughout the time. We are not addressing the fundamental questions. We are talking, for example, as a party, we have proposed, how do we end theft of public money so that the money that is being stolen in the counties and the national government can actually be diverted into fixing schools, roads, health, and all those things. Those are the things that we are talking about. Feel free. I'm sure you can invite Raila Amolo Odinga here and you can ask him those questions. But I'm not here to talk about NASA. I'm here to talk about how we guys, a Third Way Alliance, are going to check on the government of President Uhuru.
Let's talk about checking his agenda, because he has the 4-point agenda that is talked about, including matters of housing, manufacturing. What are your thoughts on that, and whether that is the right way to go? Is it a succession, or is it legacy? Do you think he will be able to leave the country much better than he found it in 2022?
Well, if I was
based on that agenda?
If I was President Uhuru in my third term, I'll basically focus on the things that touch on Kenyans' lives. And I think his 4-point agenda, of course, is not far from what we had also proposed in our manifesto. I mean, industrialization was one of the issues that we fixed. And I think President Uhuru, if you recall in his inauguration speech, he actually said that he's not going to throw away ideas that come from his opponents, and that he will be able to tap into some of them. For example, the question of power liberalization, which we spoke about in our 14-point agenda, I see Jubilee has actually kind of borrowed from us. I didn't see this in their manifesto. I mean, we have no problem. So long as it benefits the people of Kenya, I think if I was President Uhuru, I would also be concerned about my legacy right now, because he only has the next 4 years. The less politicking we do, the better. And I think for me, as a party leader and as a party, we are going to watch his administration very closely. We have got a very robust legislative agenda that we are going to propose. And we are invoking the provisions of Article 119 of our Constitution that allows anybody, any Kenyan, to move Parliament on a legislative agenda. That we are going to do. And that's why, for example, we have proposed as a party, and we are the only party, by the way, so far that has proposed that we are going to pick out a shadow cabinet. And that shadow cabinet will basically mirror the various cabinet secretaries or the PSS that President Uhuru has put forth. We will look at what are policy direction that they are proposing, and what is.
But that shadow cabinet does not exist in our system.
Yes, it doesn't exist in our system, but nothing stops us from picking a shadow cabinet. I mean, come on. I ran for president of this country with the full intention of forming a government, with the full intention of implementing our manifesto. We are not going to throw away our ideas of the kind of Kenya we want or the kind of government I wanted to run just because I wasn't elected as president. I mean, it's stupid of me to say that, all the things that I had said and promised Kenyans, now I'll throw them away. That's why we are turning this, because after all, it's clear that there is no opposition right now. I mean, the people who have been claiming to be opposition have abandoned that cause. I mean, they want...
But you also aren't official opposition in terms of checking the government within the National Assembly,
within
Parliament in general.
Yvonne, let me take this time to try and explain to many Kenyans who have very cheaply looked at the question of opposition politics. Anybody who is not in government and has an alternative view can play opposition politics. We are legitimate.
But you call yourself the leader of official opposition.
Why not? I'm claiming that space because, I mean, it's a space that needs to be filled in. Somebody must play the role of opposition to government. I mean, the two protagonists, each one of them want to be president and form parallel government. Fair enough. Even if there was a 10th president who wants to claim to be, we are going to oppose them. We are going to check on them. We are not going to abandon our views, our political views on what kind of Kenya that we want, on what kind of policies we want for Kenya. We are going to look at what is President Uhuru proposing in the education. For example, I want to remind Kenyans, he said that there will be free secondary education. Every parent who is watching this show today will know that that is a white lie. And we will be reminding President Uhuru that you lied to Kenyans. Secondary education is not free. I
want us to talk about the national conversation, as you put it, in 1 minute.
Yes.
Dialogue, conversation, what's the difference?
You know, okay, for us, the idea of conversation elevates the concerns of a country to include every Kenyan. The kind of dialogue we've been hearing is about inclusion. It's about us not being in power. It's about electoral justice, which for me, I think, to some extent, is almost like a nusumkata kind of thing. You know what? That is their perspective.
What would your agenda be for a national conversation, as you put it?
I don't know. You cited the 14-point agenda that we proposed.
I'm asking you for the viewers who have not watched it.
We talked about the need to end theft of public money. There's so much pilferage, so much theft happening. I mean, Kenyans will recall that we almost borrow 700 billion annually, but we also steal 700 billion. We're talking about negative ethnicity in this country. It's a conversation we really must have. We're talking about water, availability of water to each and every home in this country. We're talking about education. We're talking about health care. We're talking about national debt.
And who would be in this conversation?
Who
would sit down at this table?
We are inviting Kenyans to engage. And I'm hoping that President Uhuru Kenyatta will pick up this idea and say, okay, let's have a conversation about how do we fix theft of public money, for example. You know, why are we not using the Auditor General report when the Auditor General report is the only forensic evidence of how money is being stolen in this country? Why are we not prosecuting every audit query that the Auditor General picks?
But some of those queries that have been raised by the Auditor General have been disputed by the very same government.
Yeah.
If you recall the matters of Eurobond, the Auditor General and the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury were on opposite sides.
And that's why we are elevating this conversation, removing it from the political class, because the political class wants to own this conversation. And it's normally for selfish. And by the way, let me remind Kenyans.
You are a member of that political class.
Yes, but I'm saying, yes, as a politician, as a party leader right now, I'm not saying I know it all as Ekuru Aukot. And I'm saying I'm inviting Kenyans to begin to question government on some of the issues that concern us. And in our statement, we reminded Kenyans, in 2007, 2008, when hell broke loose in this country, people went into a dialogue at a money room in Serena. Eventually, it was a small clique of the political class that actually benefited from that dialogue. Kenyans did not benefit. The issue of historical injustice today, Yvonne, has not been addressed. Every time we talk about dialogue, it's about benefiting a few individuals.
All right.
Yeah? And let me give you a criticism.
Oh, yes.
Let me give not you, but let me criticize the political class.
Go ahead.
Jubilee, I mean, President Uhuru, for example, of all the Kikuyus in Kenya, is Beth Mugo the only one they could have nominated as a senator? Of all the Luos in entire Luo Nyanza, is Oburu Odinga the only one Raila Amolo could have nominated? Of all the Kaos, is Kennedy Kalonzo the only one they could have nominated? I want Kenyans to begin to question this leadership. And I don't mind being criticized as a party leader. I want us to be brutally honest, because that's the only way we can change this country.
All right.
That is the conversation I want to have.
A brutally honest national conversation. Dr. Ekuru Aukot, thank you. Leader of Third Way Alliance, Kenya. A brutally honest...
in Kenya.
I will let you claim that for yourself. Well, if that is what you call yourself, then that is all well and good. Thank you very much. Dr. Ekuru Aukot is the leader of Third Way Alliance Kenya. That I can say for sure. Who's joining us for that conversation? A brutally honest one. What do you think? Are we being too politically correct in this country? Please let us know. Hashtag is Checkpoint at KTN News, at Yvonne Okwara. The conversation continues. Coming up, we have the latest in the world of sports news, including that Mashemeji Derby, the Kenya Super Cup. Who emerged winner? You know that by now. We'll be showing you all the latest goals from that, as well as my take up next in just a few. We'll be right